Hallelujah, bikocho, hallelujah. Hallelujah, birkia uzo, hallelujah. Hallelujah, bivorotav, hallelujah, kerov kulo, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, tehalleluya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama, tehalleluya, hallelujah. Hallelujah, beteka shofar, hallelujah. Hallelujah, beneva bechinor, hallelujah. Hallelujah, betir tzalei shama, hallelujah, betir tzalei chua, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Bruchim habayim. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Temple Israel. It's great to be here to celebrate Shabbat. Happy to welcome you here to our sanctuary. I'm happy to welcome people joining us on StreamSpot. This week we celebrate Shabbat, and we're here to celebrate the bat mitzvah of Maya Anavim, who's going to be called to the Torah tomorrow for the very first time as a bat mitzvah. And we're going to start with the lighting of Shabbat candles, welcoming in the day of rest. So Maya, I'm going to ask you to bring your mother and your sisters up here to welcome in Shabbat. And I invite everyone to please rise.
It's child. So we're gonna go like this. One. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Maya, you stay up here with us. Maya is going to lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat, the Psalms and songs bringing in Shabbat. We turn in our Sidor Lev Shalem to page 11. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God as we raise our voices in song. Page 11, Lechunar Anina. The heavens shall be glad and the earth rejoice, the sea and its fullness roar, the meadows and all that grows in them exult. Even the trees of the forest shall sing praise as Adonai comes. Page 14, middle of the page at the red arrow, Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tol gel haaretz. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותוהל גאל הארץ.
Turn to page 20, the final 3 lines of the page, again at the red arrow for Romamu.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו.
Turn to page 23, and we welcome in the Shabbat Kala, the Shabbat bride, with Lecha Dodi. Maya is going to lead us in the first 2 stanzas and the refrain on page 23, and then we flip to page 25, the final stanza, Boi V'Shalom. At that point, we rise in our places and we face the door, welcoming in symbolically Shabbat. Page 23, Lecha Dodi.
לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ובשמו אחד. לשנו לתפארת נתיתי לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונחה, כי היא מכל הברוכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. תוך מעשה במחשבתי לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בוהים קלה, לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לך קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך
קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Maya, great job in leading us in Kabbalat Shabbat. Yasher kochech. You may be seated. Maya, you can sit with your family. We turn to page 27, a song for the day of Shabbat, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינוך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק התמר יפרח כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני וחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינבו בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא הבלטה בו.
Page 29.
Adonai malaki udlavish, lavish Adonai ozi tazar, afti konte verbalti mortam. Mikolot mayim rabim adirim ishpereyam adir bamarom Adonai, erotecha nemnu el beitcha navakodesh, Adonai leorech yamim.
I invite everyone to please rise, and each and every Shabbat we bless our children and our family members and our friends and our community with the words of Berkat Kohanim, the ancient priestly blessing. So feel free to put your arm around the person next to you or direct your hearts to the people you care about as we bless them with these beautiful words.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. We sing together. Ken yehi ratzon.
May Adonai bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Ken yehi ratzon.
May God's Spirit shine upon you, and may God be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon yasim lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon yasim lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon.
May God's Spirit turn unto you, and may God grant you shalom, grant you peace. Ken yehi ratzon.
Ken yehi ratzon.
May be seated. At this point, we turn to our Mishaberach prayer, our prayers for healing, as we think of those in our lives in need of physical and spiritual well-being. This Shabbat, we think of Rav Yaakov Chai ben Hadassah, Shimon ben Yaakov Mordechai ben Naomi, Devorah bat Sarah, Hershel Yehoshua ben Malka, Perel bat Rezel, Dov ben Ita, Shmuel Yaakov ben Kalia va'ari, Devorah Rachel, Malka bat Sarah, Leib Yisrael ben Abraham bet Zipporah, Aliza Meira bat Leah, Tzivya bat Chana, Elijah Avila, Yafa Fega bat Zissel Bina, Kathy Berlin, Abraham David ben Liba, Bani Meyerson, Tova bat Rivka, Karen bat Yaakov Yerushalayim Tzirol, Adina Miriam, Harry Kinney, Kevin Haffey, Ezer Pesach, Zelda bat Yaakov and Miriam, Ben Sion Chai ben Rachel, Leah Liba bat Doba, Robert Isser, Miriam bat Rivka, Allison Kuntz, James Julia, Jean Cook, Marvin Matthews, Dennis Carroll, Avery Yitzchak, Mordechai Chaim ben Leah, Kim Worrell, Moshe Rachmiel, Bluma Duva, Malka Sarah bat Ruvain Verut, Hechazan Arya Shimon ben Chana, Leah Lasak. If you'd like to include someone in the prayer, I invite you to rise and to recite the names when I come to you. There. Ve'et kol hacholim, and all those who are ill. Cantor Lissick leads us in the prayer for healing.
Let's join our voices together. El na refana la. El na refana la. El na refana lo. Mi sheberach avotenu. El na refana la. El na refana lo.
turn to page 30, and I invite those in mourning or marking a yortzeit to rise and join me in the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divera kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam olamei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May be seated. Shabbat shalom, everyone. So each year, towards the end of May, there is a week when my colleagues, other rabbis, tend to be a little bit reflective, a little bit nostalgic. And that was this week, as many of us watched online as JTS, the Jewish Theological Seminary, the school where I studied, ordained a new class of rabbis. So my Facebook feed this week was filled with friends, people who I went to school with, or either in my year or years around me, posting pictures from their ordination ceremonies and sharing what number anniversary it was for them. Now, I don't have a picture from that day that I particularly like, but this yesterday was the 10th anniversary of my ordination. So I've been doing this for 1 decade, and I hope to be doing it for at least a few more. But as I looked at the new class of rabbis joining the ranks of my profession, I had one thought, and I know this might make some of you roll your eyes when I say this, but I looked at those new rabbis and thought, they are so young. I mean, I must have looked like that too, but still do. With that young look as they are graduating comes an excitement that you can see on them, an excitement at finally, after many years of school, getting to start a career that you are passionate about. JTS is a wonderful institution based around text-based study, the study of Jewish sacred texts like Talmud, like the Torah, like Midrash, like Jewish historical texts. It's an institution of higher learning that I am proud to have attended. But if I had to give these new rabbis one piece of advice, it would be to look for Torah outside of the sacred texts that we are so adept at studying. In fact, it's a lesson that one ancient rabbi learned and was recorded in one of those very same sacred texts, the Talmud, to be taught to later generations. Yesterday was Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, which is also the yortzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who lived in the 2nd century in the land of Israel. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, or Rashbi, as he is called, his acronym, was an early teacher of mysticism and may have written the earliest book of Jewish mysticism called the Zohar. As such, stories about him that have been written down are often a combination of history — he was a real person who lived, whose life was known about — and a little bit of myth, a little bit of fairy tale included in some of his stories. In one story, he has offended the ruling Roman officials and must go into hiding to save his life. So Rabbi Shimon and his son hide in a cave for 12 years, staying in the cave while God feeds them through a magical carob tree and a spring of water. And during those 12 years, with just the two of them in the cave, all they did was study Torah, was learn together from morning to night. When the Caesar who wanted to kill them died, they come out of the cave burning with a passion for the Torah that they would study and that they would teach. And they go to see what other people are doing. And they are shocked when they see that their neighbors, instead of sitting in the study halls learning, poring over the sacred texts much like they are going about their daily business, their daily farming routines. Here's where it gets even more mythical. They are so angry that anything that they look at bursts into flames. God looks down at Rabbi Shimon and his son and shouts at them, "Did you come out here to destroy my world? Go back into your cave." So the two disappointed rabbis return to the cave and live in isolation for another 12 months before God gives them another chance and tells them to come out again. This time they come out on a Friday, on Erev Shabbat, like today. And the first person they see as the sun is setting is a man carrying two beautiful hyssop branches. And they ask him what he is doing. He says, "I am taking these home for Shabbat to make my house beautiful, to make my house smell nice for Shabbat." One branch is for the commandment to remember, Zachor, at Yom HaShabbat, and the other is for the commandment to guard, Shamor, at Yom HaShabbat. Seeing how this man, the first person that they ran into, had his own custom, his own particular way of honoring Shabbat, of making Shabbat in his home each week, Rabbi Shimon's and his son's minds were set at ease, and they were ready to rejoin their community. It's a great story for many reasons, but particularly as a rabbi, I like those stories, a story like this. Those of us, whether we are rabbis or lay people, who have spent time studying those sacred texts I mentioned, poring over a daf, a page of Gemara, know that we can find God's teachings, expressions of love for God, expressions of devotion in those words, in those texts. But this story reminds me very much to look for Torah, for that same devotion, that same commitment to God in other places as well, to look for it in the actions of people in their daily lives, and to recognize that each and every one of us has those little customs that are our individual expressions of our Jewish identity, of our Jewish devotion. You may not find your particular custom in a book. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite of what it says to do in those books. But Rabbi Shimon and his son, the second time they came out from the cave, learned that Torah wasn't only what they did in isolation with each other, but Torah, service of God, service of other people, is each of those little acts that we do as we go through our week. And that looks different for each and every one of us. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 39, and we rise for the Baruch Hu, the beginning of the evening service. Be seated. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from before the light.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב הרבי.
Amen. Page 40.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת תורה מצוות. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
Page 42.
והיה אם שמוע תשמעו מצוותיי. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר בני ישראל. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
ואמונה כל סוף וגם עלינו, כי הוא ענה אלוהינו וזאת. העושים לך זאת. ועושה לו ניסים ולכמה בנות. המעביר בניו מגזר. Then Moses, Miriam, and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, top of page 44.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך באלים, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך נהדר, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה, זה אלי, זה אלי, זה אלי, אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך?
מי כמוך
באלים אדוני, מי כמוך ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל.
Amen. Allow us, Adonai our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Blessed are you who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 45, Hashkivenu.
Let's join together, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Leshalom, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Leshalom, Leshalom, V'ha'amidenu, Malkeinu, L'chaim, Chaim, Ufros aleinu, Sukkot, Shlomecha, Shlomecha. When I lay down at night, when I rest my head, when I rest my head, oh God, watch over me, watch over me. And when the morning comes, and when the morning comes, we thank Adonai and pray for peace. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'shalom, V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'shalom, V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Ushmor tzitenu vohenu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam, ufros alenu sukat shlomecha, baruch ata Adonai, haporei sukat shalom alenu ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Amen. Page 46, please rise for Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ולעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ולעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי.
בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב
ימרו.
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לא מהמיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא במהרו.
Amen. We spend the next few moments in silent prayer with the words of the Amidah, beginning on page 47.
When you've completed your Amidah, you may be seated.
Shalom. Uyase shalom. Uyase shalom. Aleinu. May the one that brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one that brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one that brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one that brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Bimroma. Oh, say shalom. Bimroma. Uyase shalom. Uyase shalom. Uyase shalom. Aleinu.
We continue on page 54 with Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך Le'olam lo me'omaya Yitbarach.
Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'truma v'yinaseh v'yitazar v'yitzal v'yitzalash me'rikut shabrichu le'ila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'ama v'imeru amen tirka ba'otzlotonu v'otzon zocho Yisrael kodam avuhoni v'yishmai v'yimru amen yishom arab amin shemai v'chaim elin v'kol Yisrael v'yimru amen oseh shalom v'yimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen. Amen.
Page 55, please rise as Maya leads us in Kiddush. I'd like to invite anyone younger than Bar Bat Mitzvah to come on up and join us for Kiddush here on the Bima.
Oh.
Reuben over here.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשקפת קודשו באהבה ורצון חינכילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תהילה למקראת קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו ואהבת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון חינכלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. You don't want it? Yeah.
Great job, Maya. We continue with Aleinu on page 56.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ונשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובים מרומים הוא אלוהינו עינון אמן מלכנו אפס ולטום ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת עינון על כן נקבל לך אדוננו לראות מרבי דיבר לזכר לפרגלי מן הארץ ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
May be seated. We turn to page 58 for the mourner's Kaddish. This week, we will observe the yortzites of Ida Greenberg Blitzer, Bella C. Herman Berger, Earl Gerber, Sophia Jacobson, Doris Zippel, Boris Wanowich, Bernard Bernhard, Jacob Fishman, Hyman Frank, Hyman Perlowitz, Anna Glassman, Simon Edward Langman, Miriam Jomsky, Benjamin David Silverstein, Clara Klein Waga, Gerald Crystal, Nadezhda Ivanova Guzakova, Dora Williams, Bessie Richmond, Leah Suzanne Davis, Pearl Bregman, Hazer Sobel, Frida Shepard, Herbert Goldsmith, Hyman Weingart, Annie Goldberg Shapiro, Jeanette Cohen Schwartz, Irving Shapiro, Stanley Kaplan, Belle Doktovsky, Robert Gamlin, Tilly White Aronson, Dorothy Collins, Rose Zucker, Milton Cantor, Sylvia Schoenwalter, Alla Buchengoltz, Susan Brinus, Abraham Shamstein, Edward William Harris, Milton Cantor, Gerald Rosenbaum, Karen Michelle Hunger, Aline Strauss, Joseph Layton, Roger Kushner, George Seff, Ray London, Ira Shapiro, Alice Coran, Mary Wanowich, Bernard Rose, Esther Waldman, Milton J. Mickey Bayer, and Herbert Weissman. We also extend condolences to Michelle Rusko and Alan Jonathan. Michelle is in Shloshim for her father, Leo Schulman, of blessed memory. Page 58, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divera kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen, yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam olameo maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, tamiran bi'alma v'yimru amen, yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen, oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. May be seated. I'm happy to call on our president, Teresa Brenner. This is her last Shabbat as president of Temple Israel. It's been a tumultuous 2 years of your presidency, but think about it, we started with a lot of B'nai Mitzvah, where you were the only one in the room, first with Cantor and myself on Zoom, and then just the family, and you were here to wish them Mazel Tov, and so glad that your last week here, we get to celebrate such a joyous Bat Mitzvah together with Maya and her family. So Teresa, podium is yours.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom, and it is indeed my pleasure to celebrate Maya's bat mitzvah with her and her family and her friends. Mazel Tov on leading us so well in Kabbalat Shabbat and Oseh Shalom. We look forward to tomorrow, and Mazel Tov to your parents, Ori and Rebecca, and your entire family and friends. Thank you also to Rabbi Walk and Cantor Lissick for leading us in services, to Adam Ward, our pianist, and Sean Seifert, our audiovisual tech expert. I'm so pleased to announce that Rabbi Walk will be leading Temple Israel in a trip to the state of Israel October 30th to November 10th this year. If you are interested in joining the rabbi and other congregants, please reach out to Rabbi Walk. Irving and I are going to be joining the trip. We're very excited. The itinerary and other information can be found at israeltour.com/ourwalk. Rabbi Walk's Torah study session is this week on Thursdays at 10 a.m., both in person and on Zoom. Erev Shavuot will be celebrated at Temple Israel on Saturday, June 4th at 6 p.m. We'll have a night of learning beginning with a dairy dinner, study sessions and dessert, youth programming for ages 5 to 12, and for the truly inspired, there will be night learning sessions. Please see the website and our upcoming programs page for more information. And on Sunday, May 22nd at 10 a.m., Temple Israel will be holding its annual congregational meeting where we will elect new officers and trustees, thank those officers and trustees who will be completing their terms, and experience a review in the life of Temple Israel. Please do join us here in person in the sanctuary. To sign up for these events and everything happening at Temple Israel, please see our weekly email blast and website, as well as your weekly Shabbat announcements. Services resume tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. here in the Morris and Sylvia Speisman Sanctuary, and please join us as Maya becomes a bat mitzvah. Shabbat Shalom.
Asher Koch, thank you, Teresa. Will you miss having the security detail? Might have needed it some of the weeks during COVID. We conclude our Kabbalah Shabbat service on page 5. Let's turn back to the beginning of the book, page 5. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shalom Malachei, Shalom Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Malachei, Shalom Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Malachei, Shalom Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachei, Shalom Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom.
Mazel Tov.